Tonight on Reporting Scotland, as Donald Trump prepares to announce a wide range of tariffs on goods coming into America, Scottish businesses wait to see if they'll be affected. The American president has labelled his announcement Liberation Day. One whisky distiller says if tariffs are imposed, it's not just them who'll be affected.
The uncertainty is the big piece, and then the long-term impact on the American consumer, because there's going to be a lot of changes across the board in many different categories, and whisky will just be one of them.
Also on tonight's programme, a former sub-postmaster caught up in the Horizon scandal urges other victims to come forward. Rab Thompson was wrongly convicted of embezzlement due to a faulty IT system. He's launched a support group to help those seeking faster payouts. As more sunny weather is forecast for Scotland, firefighters say there's an extreme risk of wildfires across the country.
Coming up in the sport, we speak to the history-making Scottish figure skater, eyeing up Winter Olympic gold.
Keep good sportsmanship, don't try and bicker at each other and get annoyed.
And the school children in the Borders who've taken on a qualification in professional gaming known as Esports. Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Wednesday's programme. In a matter of hours, we'll learn what trade tariffs President Trump intends to impose on goods coming into the US. They are expected to be wide-ranging, and Scottish businesses, like many around the world, are holding their breath. Whisky and salmon are two of our biggest exports to America, and both those industries are keeping a watchful eye over what the announcement might mean for them and their customers. The fear is the situation could develop into a global trade war. And today, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, says the UK is preparing for all eventualities. Here's our Westminster correspondent, Rajdeep Sandhu.
At this distillery north of Glasgow, they know about patience. It takes a lot to make a good whisky. Since President Trump took office, the industry has been bracing itself. In just a few hours, we'll know how much extra it will cost to sell the contents of these barrels to customers in the US.
It has the potential to be unsettling, business-like certainty. And what tariffs introduce, or the threat of tariffs mean, is it introduces an unsettling to the business. And so that could have some short-term and maybe long-term consequences.
President Trump is keeping the world guessing on exactly what is coming, but said this last night.
We are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
A trade war is in nobody's interest.
The UK had been hoping to escape his tariffs with a bit of sweet talk, but that's looking very unlikely now.
That's why we're working with all industries and sectors likely to be impacted. Our decisions will always be guided by our national interest, and that's why we have prepared for all eventualities, and we will rule nothing out.
The SNP say tariffs are bad news for everyone and criticise the UK's approach to President Trump.
The Labour Party are keen to present this as a very warm relationship, but it's a subservient relationship, and Keir Starmer very quickly needs to develop a backbone if the Trump administration is going to take him seriously. He has to uphold the ambitions of the entire United Kingdom economy, and that includes very key elements like Scotch whisky.
That industry has been here before, under the last Trump presidency facing tariffs.
Tariffs had an impact last time. We managed through it. Tariffs last time were just on malt whisky, and other whiskies around the world weren't in tariffs. Depending on what happens this time, it may happen more across the board.
Global trade is moving at a frenetic pace. Keir Starmer's determined to stick to his calm and cool approach when dealing with a White House that could throw anything his way. Rajdeep Sandhu, Reporting Scotland, Westminster.
Well, our political correspondent David Wallace-Lockhart is in New York for us this evening. David, what will you be looking out for when it comes to that announcement from Donald Trump within the next few hours?
Well, Laura, the key question is what will these tariffs be, and will the UK be affected by them. The UK doesn't have a big trade imbalance with the USA. We sell them roughly the same amount of goods that they sell us back, but there is a feeling from UK ministers that they think they are going to get sucked into this, at least in the short term, while negotiations about trade deals with the USA keep going on. Now, of course, that for the UK means that Scotland would be affected. It would mean for any Scottish exporter they'd have to accept that an importer here in the USA would be paying more money to bring their goods in. So when Donald Trump spells out what he's going to do later on today, I think they may well be watching, perhaps even through their fingers.
Yeah, and we've been hearing from Scottish businesses here about their concerns, but you've been hearing from businesses on that side of the Atlantic about how they're going to be affected.
That's right. So we met earlier on today with a Manhattan seafood wholesaler who sells a ton of Scottish salmon a week to Michelin-starred restaurants here in New York City. Now, he was explaining there's not really a domestic US alternative fish that he could turn to. So if the tariffs come in and affected Scottish salmon, he'd just have to up his prices. He thinks ultimately that would feed through to diners here in New York. Now, you may say, well, why should we care about that? That sounds like it'll only affect people going out to fancy restaurants in New York City. But ultimately, the economic logic of all of this is it may mean lower salmon sales to the US, and that's where you can't really tear apart the UK and US economies on this. It will affect both of them. So Donald Trump is calling this Liberation Day. Just a couple more hours we have to wait until we find out what exactly that actually means.
Yes, indeed. OK, David, live from New York. Thank you. One of the first postmasters in Scotland cleared following the Horizon computer scandal is urging other victims to seek compensation. 65-year-old Rab Thompson from Clickmannanshire fought for years to have his wrongful conviction overturned. He's been speaking to our reporter, Maura Kinnebra.
It's taken more than 20 years for this former sub-postmaster to clear his name. His wrongful conviction for taking money from his Alloa post office has been quashed. Now he wants more Scottish victims to come forward.
No matter how much money you're going to get, it will not bring back, i.e. my mother or people that stay in their lives. We went through complete torture, and there's no one in Scotland apart from us setting this up now that we could turn to at any time and ask for advice.
Hundreds of post office branch managers across the UK were prosecuted over the faulty Horizon IT system, which made it look like money was missing, and inquiries investigating what went wrong.
Please, come forward.
This new group offers moral support as well as medical, legal and financial advice. It says too many victims have lost confidence in the systems.
They feel they can't put their heads above the parapet, and some of them weren't even prosecuted. But locally, they were shunned. Postmasters, postmistresses, who every week put money in the till so they could open up and serve their communities the next day, deserve redress.
The Scottish Government says its new laws helped over 60 convictions be overturned so far. The UK Government says its compensation schemes paying redress more than £700 million has been paid to over 5,000 claimants. In the Borders, this former postmaster believes Scottish victims are lagging behind those down south.
Given the fact that Scotland has a different legal system to sort of England and Wales, we needed to make sure that everybody within Scotland is dealt with properly and fairly, and that they also have somewhere local that they can come to get that help and support, to get their names restored, and obviously any redress required.
Rab's still contesting his compensation, and he's worried other victims are dying without redress in one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in recent years. Maura Kinnebra, reporting Scotland, Clickmannanshire.
The Chief Executive of the Scottish Prison Service has told the families of two young people who took their own lives in custody that the service should not be immune from prosecution. She was meeting the families of Katie Allen and William Brown following recommendations made by a sheriff after a fatal accident inquiry into their deaths in Polmont Young Offenders Institution in 2018. Katrina Renton reports.
Katie Allen was 21 years old when she was found dead in her cell in Polmont Young Offenders Institution. She'd been serving a sentence for drink and dangerous driving. She took her own life. William Brown, also known as William Lindsay, was 16. He'd carried a knife into a police station. He was only in Polmont as there were no places available in a children's secure unit. They both died within months of each other in 2018. In January, a fatal accident inquiry found their deaths could have been prevented if reasonable precautions had been taken. The Sheriff made 25 recommendations, including that the Scottish Prison Service take definite steps to make cells safer, and he raised concerns about Polmont's suicide prevention strategy. Today, Katie and William's families and the Scottish Prison Service met following the recommendations.
This was just an opportunity to meet personally with the families, to offer our apologies for their loss, the tragic loss of Katie and William, and to apologise for the failures of the past, and to ensure that they understand we are committed and determined to not only action the recommendations that we have accepted in full, but to ensure that there is systemic change across the organisation.
The issue of Crown immunity, the fact that the Scottish Prison Service cannot be prosecuted, was out with the scope of the inquiry. Private prisons can be prosecuted. State prisons are covered by UK health and safety legislation. The Scottish Government has written to the UK Government in support of abolishing this. Today, the Chief Executive of the Scottish Prison Service told the families she agrees.
When you have a situation where the Scottish Prison Service agrees with the lifting of Crown immunity, where the Scottish Government and every opposition party in the Scottish Parliament agrees with the lifting of Crown immunity, the question really is now for the UK Government to deliver on that.
It is a legacy for Katie and William, but also it's for the future of people in the UK, and if anyone can do it, we can do it.
Linda, were you surprised that Theresa Medhurst said that she wanted Crown immunity to be removed?
Once we got to know her a wee bit during the meeting, no. I do think she was very genuine, and I think she does want change as much as we do.
The UK Government said it has received the Scottish Government's letter and will respond in due course. Katrina Renton, reporting Scotland.
Firefighters are warning of an extreme risk of wildfires across Scotland over the next week after a number of recent blazes. Crews tackled a large one on the Kilpatrick Hills near Glasgow yesterday, while gorse was also deliberately set alight in Aberdeenshire. Our reporter Ben Phillip has more.
Bankery in Aberdeenshire. Yesterday afternoon, an area of gorse alight, sending flames and smoke into the air. Today, the extent of the damage made clear. Police are treating the fire as deliberate. The area sits near homes, a school and a sports centre. Thankfully, no one was injured. Yesterday was the warmest day of the year so far. Firefighters also tackled a blaze in the Kilpatrick Hills near Glasgow, the second in recent weeks.
And this is the problem. Warm, sunny weather combined with vast areas of dead, bone-dry vegetation creates the perfect ingredients for a fire to take hold and spread quickly.
The highest wildfire risk is currently in the northeast and west coast. By Monday, the extreme threat covers all of central and southern Scotland. People are being urged not to light fires outdoors until next week.
Our biggest advice to the public at the moment is just to be very cautious. When you're out in the countryside, don't be playing with any naked flames, don't light campfires, and make sure if you're out there and you've got litter, take your litter home with you, don't leave any trace. A big cause of wildfires can be such as glass magnifying in the sun, and this can lead to wildfires, but just be very vigilant, and if you do see any small wildfires developing, get on the phone straight away.
The unpredictable nature of wildfires pose a significant challenge for firefighters. So as we begin to enjoy a bit more time outdoors, the advice is to act responsibly. Ben Phillip, reporting Scotland.
Tributes have been paid to the Government Minister Christina McKelvey during a motion of condolence in the Scottish Parliament. MSPs wore yellow roses in memory of the SNP MSP who died aged 57 last week. Her partner, the SNP's deputy leader Keith Brown, told Parliament the real measure of her beauty was in her mind and her heart.
I've often thought of Christina as a star. People have talked about how much fun she was. To me, she was glamorous, she was sparkly, she was fun. And of course, planets revolve around stars. I just don't know what a planet does when its star has been extinguished.
Patrick Harvie is the longest-serving party chief in the Scottish Parliament, but not for much longer. He's standing down as co-leader of the Scottish Greens, but will still seek re-election as an MSP at Holyrood next year. Our political correspondent Lindsay Bewes reports.
The 2003 Holyrood elections were a breakthrough moment for the Scottish Greens and marked the start of Patrick Harvie's parliamentary career. More than 20 years later, he hopes to continue as an MSP beyond next year's election, but today announced he's standing down as co-leader of the party, a decision he's been weighing up for some time.
Even in the run-up to the last election, the 21 election, I was thinking, you know, there's a balance to be struck here. Have I been in the role long enough? Do I want to keep going? And, you know, if it hadn't been for that opportunity to enter government for the first time, I might have made this decision a wee bit earlier.
The Bute House Agreement, signed by the Greens and the then First Minister Nicola Sturgeon in the wake of the 2021 election, was a historic moment for the party and a highlight of Mr Harvie's 17-year tenure as co-leader.
Is the agreement with the SNP over?
Until it was brought to an abrupt end in 2024. His stint at the top of the Greens has also seen him champion the environment, campaign in the 2014 independence referendum and push for progress on equalities and social justice.
Equal marriage! No!
Attention now turns to who will succeed him. It's understood his co-leader Lorna Slater will seek re-election, while Green MSPs Gillian Mackay and Ross Greer have been tipped as potential candidates. A contest is expected to take place this summer. Lindsay Bewes reporting Scotland, Holyrood.
Well, the news at 7 is coming up shortly on the BBC Scotland channel. Laura McKeever is here to tell us more. What's happening tonight, Laura?
More tariff talk, Laura. We're going to be hearing more detail from the businessman Sir Tom Hunter, who you and Martin Geisler spoke to on Scotcast today.
Did indeed.
Also, it's 100 days until the Island Games arrive in Orkney, so we'll have a preview of what's going on, plus some breaking dinosaur news. That's all I can say. It's embargoed until 7 o'clock. You will have to tune in to BBC Scotland to find out.
I wonder what that will be. Thank you very much, Laura. Now, it is an industry worth billions of pounds worldwide, and for many young people, working in esports is a dream. It's where competitors earn a living by playing video games professionally. Now, some secondary schools are piloting a new course where pupils can study for a qualification in esports. Teachers at one of the schools, Selkirk High in the Borders, say it's helping pupils learn vital skills. Our reporter Cameron Buttle has been to see how it all works.
Something new and exciting is happening at Selkirk High School. This is an inter-house school tournament for the modern age. Esports is now a multi-billion-dollar global industry, and pupils here are being taught how they could become part of it.
This might be hard for some parents to get their head round. It looks like a lot of fun cheering on other pupils playing video games, but behind the scenes there's an awful lot of learning going on.
Keep good sportsmanship, don't try and bicker at each other and get annoyed.
Alfie is 16. He's usually in the forwards pack on the rugby field, but today he's part of the team running the tournament. He's one of the pupils studying esports.
When I first took the course, I thought, oh, it's a strange course, you wouldn't expect it to be at school, but I thought, wow, it's actually really exciting. We've learned about the history and actually the business side, so how people make money. Like I didn't know this, but you can be like a nutritionist for players.
Initially, there was some scepticism about the course, until it was made clear that actually playing video games was not what it was about.
There's a lot of communication skills involved. You learn a lot of technical skills along the way. I've learned a lot more about types of jobs you get in there, and I didn't expect to learn so much.
Now the course has been piloted here, the plans are to roll it out across the whole area.
We want every school in the Scottish Borders to have the opportunity to run these qualifications within their schools. So there's going to be that esports qualification up to the equivalent of higher within our schools, but then it also allows our young people to transfer that and take that into college courses that are already out there, that are going into HNC and within qualifications in colleges. And then it allows them to take that into university level if they want to.
Next time I'd have the briefing maybe the day before.
Back in the classroom, the team pick apart what worked and what didn't, and what they'd learned from the experience.
The potential for there to be employment opportunities in the actual industry within the borders is massive. The literacy and numeracy skills that they've had to use, all based within an esports context, on something they're actually engaged and interested in. The learning has just happened, and 9 times out of 10 they come in, they run the class, and they just get on with the tasks that have been given, which means from a teaching perspective it's amazing, because esports is just the vehicle for them learning.
Already interest is growing here in enrolment for next year, while many other schools across Scotland are also planning on running the course in the future. Cameron Buttle reporting Scotland, Selkirk.
Well, from e-sport to more traditional sport now, Sheila.
Traditional, yes, that's what we call it. We're very traditional. Hello there. Celtic goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel is expected to be out injured for up to 6 weeks after damaging his shoulder playing for Denmark. The 38-year-old has hardly missed a match since establishing himself as Celtic's #1 last summer, but he could sit out the next 7 games. However, if Celtic beat St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup semi-final, he should be fit for the final on the 24th of May. Now, Scotland midfielder Emma Watson admits her world came crashing down when she suffered a serious knee injury just after completing a dream move to English giants Manchester United. The 19-year-old has returned to fitness after rupturing her ACL and is currently on loan at Everton. In an interview that you can watch on Reporting Scotland News at 7, Watson has been speaking about a challenging year as she prepares for Scotland's Nations League doubleheader against Germany.
Obviously at the time I was absolutely devastated when I found out I ruptured my ACL, and I kind of thought, you know, that was it for me, like world was ending kind of thing. But you can quickly change your mindset and change the narrative of your story, and I'm a big believer that, you know, scars, they tell you where you've been, not where you're going. So obviously it was definitely a blip in my career, but at the same time I don't think it was time lost.
Scotland have suffered a defeat in their latest match at the Men's World Curling Championships in Canada, but remain in a strong position to reach the latter stages of the competition. An 11-7 defeat to Switzerland means skip Bruce Mowat and his team have won 5 of their 7 matches so far. The Scots are back on the ice later against Norway and remain well placed to finish in the top 6 and reach the medal playoffs. Now, Scottish figure skater Lewis Gibson says an Olympic medal is starting to feel realistic after winning bronze at the World Skating Championships in Boston at the weekend. The 30-year-old from Ayrshire and his ice dance partner Lila Fear won Team GB's first medal at the championships since Torvill and Dean won their 4th and final world title in 1984. Now, Gibson can't wait to take to the ice in Italy next February. I spoke to him earlier and started by asking him how it feels to make history.
I mean, first of all, it's like a dream come true. Like, it is truly incredible. It's most definitely not sunk in yet. And I mean, since 1984, like, it's wild, and always being like, having your names in the same sentence as Torvill and Dean, like, it never gets old.
How much of an inspiration were they for you when you started ice skating?
Huge. I mean, they're the reason I started skating, actually, after watching Dancing on Ice the first season. And, you know, their legacy in the UK is phenomenal. Like, it's always been super helpful when you tell someone, oh yeah, I figure skate, and they're like, oh, like Torvill and Dean. So that makes it easier, but they are legends and super powerhouses in the world of skating, so it's a great honour to follow in their footsteps.
Can you take us back then to how you got started in skating down in Ayr?
Yeah, it was Ayr curling rink, actually, which is sadly no longer there, and they had 2 ice pads. So a curling rink is already small. They had a really teeny tiny pad, and I went along to the local learn to skate, and I remember I did like the first badge and I was like, oh, this is doable, and then I did the next one and the next one and it sort of just never stopped progressing, and it's something I love about the sport. There's always a new challenge.
So you followed in Torvill and Dean's footsteps at the Worlds. What about the Olympics?
I mean, fingers crossed. It's been a long-term goal to win an Olympic medal, and I think it's starting to feel even more realistic, which is incredible and scary at the same time. And if we can manage to do that, it'll be incredible. But, you know, like, it's just it's just such a journey we've been on so far, and I'm just very excited just to keep continuing.
It might be summery outside, Laura, but it's all about the winter sports.
Absolutely. Good to hear from him. One to watch. Thanks, Sheila. Now, a collection of pictures by the Scottish painter and writer John Byrne has sold for more than £90,000. The 10 pieces, dating from the late 60s and early 70s, had originally been bought by a supportive local priest at the start of the artist's career. A painting of the Beatles fetched the highest price of almost £28,000 at the auction in Edinburgh.
He was working at the time for a gallery in London that had a very kind of starry clientele, so Ringo would go in and buy works from there, David Niven, Michael Caine. So I think that was a bit of a nod to that, but also he became acquainted with them through his friend Donovan, and I believe George Harrison actually came to his house for dinner in Renfrew a couple of times.
Now let's take a look at the weather with Christopher. You have done very well today bringing us this kind of weather. Well done.
Well, you might get sick of it because there's a lot more of it to come. A lot of dry weather, a lot of sunny weather. It was the Northwest Highlands that was warmest. Same again tomorrow.
Nice.
Thank you very much indeed, Laura. Good evening to you. Yes, we've had lots of dry and fine weather right across the country today, haven't we? But always that bit cooler towards some eastern coast with a breeze off the sea. As we head through this evening and overnight, it's dry and clear. It will be cool under those clear skies. Temperatures here in towns and cities around 2 to 4 Celsius. A patchy frost across parts of Grampian and the southeast. Perhaps a bit of mist and fog forming too. So to tomorrow, and high pressure situated to our north, and we're dragging in some east or northeasterly winds moving over pretty cold North Sea. That means it will be cool in the east, but warmest in the west. For all, it's dry. For most, it's sunny. There is a weak weather front with cloud in Shetland, but elsewhere you can see mid-afternoon, lots of sunshine. Now, the sea surface temperatures at their lowest at this time of year. So in the west, 8 or 9 degrees, in the east, 7. So if you're right on the east coast, it will feel chilly and generally cooler in the east compared with the west, where we'll see temperatures up to 18 or 19 degrees once again. The cloud's still with us in Shetland. They're a weak cold front, but it's still dry and it moves south, that cloud, into Orkney tomorrow night. Elsewhere, clear and cool once again, bit of mist and fog forming through the southeast. That's how we start the day on Friday, which will be another dry and fine day for many. A bit more in the way of cloud just pushing down the east coast, perhaps low cloud at times, and generally a cooler feel for many. In the west and southwest, though, still just about in the mid-teens. And then for this weekend, high pressure is sticking with us, so it remains dry. If you're after some rain for the gardens, I'm afraid there really isn't any at all. You can see it's a cloudier picture on Saturday through central and eastern parts, best of the sunshine in the west. And then on Sunday, that cloud just retreating towards the far north and the Northern Isles. So it's a sunnier picture for many of us on Sunday compared with Saturday. Temperatures again highest in the west, mid-teens. So you can see on the outlook, temperatures taking a bit of a dip Friday and Saturday, then recovering next week. It's dry throughout and it's sunny for most. That's the forecast for now.
Even your tie is feeling sunny tonight. Thank you, Christopher. And that is Reporting Scotland for now. Anne McAlpine will be here with your late news at 10:30 tonight. Until then, from everyone on the team, do enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy the sunshine. Good night.